So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker today, um, Jasmine Chen. Jasmine, hi, Jasmine. Jasmine Chen is a great lawyer and a friend. She joined Sandberg Phoenix in 2022 and is a member of the Business Practices Group. Jasmine is originally from Taiwan, and she is one of the parts of her very active practice is wholeheartedly preserving family values when it comes to family legacy planning. After her husband Dave and her became American citizens, Jasmine became a licensed attorney in both Missouri and New York. She currently serves as president of the St. Louis chapter of the North America Taiwanese Women's Association, who was honored with the Diversity and Inclusion Awards by Missouri Lawyers Weekly. And Jasmine has an active estate planning practice, among other things. Good morning, Jasmine.
Hey everyone, good morning, Gary.
All right. How are you today?
I am doing good. Thank you for the kind introduction.
Great. Oh, absolutely. Happy to do it. I think I've set it up, Jasmine, that I'm going to admit some more folks. I think I have it, Jasmine, so you can share screen. So you want to, I'll just turn it over to you unless you need any other introduction.
No, yeah, give me 1 second. Let me pull my PowerPoint slide.
Fantastic. Well, you get that going. For folks that may not have heard me when I began, we get in the chat. I put in the link to the course materials, to the Google Drive materials that we have. I also have a link to the CLE, to the title and the code number, the ID, the magic number that you need to get credit for this, and filing that with the Supreme Court before July 31st. There you go, Jasmine. I will stop talking and let you earn your I'll let you go. Thank you, Jasmine.
Sure. So, Gary, just to confirm, can you guys see the PowerPoint slide?
Yes, I can. I can see it very well, Jasmine. Thank you.
All right. So, hi everyone. Again, my name is Jasmine Chen. Thank you for joining, this CLE program today. My sole goal today is to make my presentation the least painful one for all of you. so as long as I can achieve that, hopefully you guys will see something and learn something that you feel, interested too. Okay. So, well, I'm not sure how do I move to the second slide.
Jasmine, I think if you click your screen, you may be able to.
Is
that working for you, Jasmine?
Yes. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. All right. So, well, I guess when you guys see the program, you might be wondering what exactly is cross-cultural lawyering? Why am I learning or even need to be interested in this? So just to give you a couple of reasons why you may want to know or learn a little bit more about this. Well, the American Bar Association Standards 303C adopts this new rule back in February 2022. It provides that a law school shall provide education to law students on bias, cross-cultural competency, and racism. At the start of the program of legal education and at least once again before graduation. And also this, the goal is to help attorney to serve, your client to the highest value. And I'm sorry, what? So I want to cover a little bit what we will be talking about today. We will introduce the cross-cultural competency idea, and then hopefully the presentation will help you to develop that mindset, and also to practice the skills and implement evaluation mechanism. We will start talking about what is culture and then what is cross-cultural competency. I will refer to it as the 3C. It's a pretty mouthful. And I will also explain why 3C is important, what are the elements of this 3C, and then how you can apply 3C in lawyering moving forward. So we all love quizzes. So here we go. The first quiz. Here are 20 different national flags. So if you know the answer, you can maybe send a chat or raise your hand and let me know. So let's start with this. How about what country flag is the first flag of the second rule? I think I will pick on Gary.
Japan.
Okay. All right. Good job, Gary.
If I got it right, and I know America.
Yeah. Okay. How about the second one? Let's try this again. The fourth, the country flag, of the third row, counting from your left.
Third row, first, that bottom left.
The fourth flag of the third row.
Oh, I'm gonna go. Sorry, who said that?
Oops. All right.
I'm sorry again.
It's France.
Oh, the third row.
The fourth one. The third.
The fourth one.
Third row, fourth one.
Well, third row, 1, 2. India.
No, good guess.
Oh no, just a guess.
So the one flag with kind of like a cathedral kind of or castle, and then black, red, and green. That's Afghanistan.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Well, so why I bring up all these flags to show you guys what just to give you guys some credit. I did have the note in front of me because I'm a little bit concerned you guys gonna ask me question and I forget which country flag that represents. But anyway, so the reason I put this here, all these flags here, is that I am very proud to say that I have served at least like one client from each of these 20 different countries. I'm an immigrant myself, and then I oftentimes feel like it's easier for me to connect with other immigrants or people, families from the minority communities. So because I have this honor to work with all these families from all these different cultural backgrounds, I've actually also learned a lot from them. Now, let's start with our first topic. And then this is actually going to be our second quiz. So what is culture? So can someone, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when people mention the term culture? Anybody?
And just so everybody knows, I did mute folks just so that we could have a clear thing. So if you want to answer any questions from Jasmine, please unmute yourself and do it. Just to start, because I'm unmuted. Jasmine, is culture like the kind of what we have as a society or as a group identifying our history and our norms that we have developed because of our race identity or background identity?
Yeah, that's part of it. So yeah, I understand most of the CLE program, everybody is muted, but I really do want people to, have more interactions, for this my session. So I apologize for.
Oh, you're great.
You know,
And I'm reading the chat too. John says culture is food, music, arts, religion of a region or country. And Don says that it's a value system in the chat too.
Exactly. So food, clothing, religions, arts, uh, architectures, buildings. Those are all part of culture. So the Roman philosopher first used this word to define culture and the meaning of culture, and it actually I don't know how to pronounce that term, the cultural anime. It's actually defined as the living thing in its development process, and it's actually an umbrella term. So it's usually originated from or attributed to a specific region or locations, and it really can include, like we mentioned earlier, arts, laws, religions, knowledge, beliefs, superstitions, and much more. And then we actually we learn that culture through that there's a learning process that we acquire our own culture. We were not born with it. Okay, so I will give you guys a more formal definition. Culture basically codifies acceptable conduct in society and serves as a guideline for people's behavior in a particular society. So, again, culture also includes superstition. So I'm more just like Gary, first said that I am originally from Taiwan. So I really, here today want to share my personal experiences with everybody here. I do have the first-hand experiences since, I'm originally from Taiwan and I've been live here more than half of my life. So on the left-hand side, the picture was taken in in the United States in an elevator. So it's very common that you see that the 13th floor is missing. It's really not a surprise to us. Even for my own firm, at the Clayton office, we do not have the 13th floor. But on the right-hand side, that's the picture taken, in an elevator in Taiwan, and you can see the number 4 is missing. And then the reason is because I speak Chinese as well, since Taiwanese people do have a Chinese heritage. And number 4 in Chinese is the pronunciation of it sounds like a death. So people avoiding will try everything they can to avoid saying the word 4. So if you ever visit, the restaurant in Taiwan, if you happen to have 4 people, together and visiting the restaurant, when you arrive and tell, the receptionist saying that you have 4 people, they actually will repeat that you have 3 plus 1. Out of respect. Nobody requires them to do that, but it just, just a habit that people, have. They, instead of saying 4, they will actually say 3 plus 1. Another superstition I want to show, everybody, because again, cultural is very, very, very region specific. So, for example, like black cats in Japan, it actually is a symbol of good luck, right? And but here in Western world, in Western cultures, black cats typically, people would see that as the symbol of the evil, stuff, right? And then in Scotland, prosperity will befall anyone who finds a stray black cat on their doorstep. In India, they also believe that will bring you bad luck. So this is just a couple interesting, example to show people how cultural can influence, your perspective, even on the daily, tiny little things. Now we can finally talk about the cross-cultural competency. So if you Google this term, you can find hundreds of different definitions online. So these are the three that I found: the knowledge, skills, and motivation that enable individuals to adapt effectively in cross-cultural environments. An individual capability that contributes to intercultural effectiveness. And so I highlight effectiveness, and effectiveness for a reason. It's really, for you to understand the concept, and hopefully that will help you to develop that mindset, and then, start to practice the skills that can help you effectively communicate with your clients. Especially, I would say, with clients from different cultures, more effectively. So now I want to show everyone why the cross-cultural competency is important. We will talk about, why it is important in the diverse world and workforce. And also the 3C has been named among the most important skills for future workforce. It's also considered very essential skill sets for effective global leaders. So diverse world. So there's a survey of more than 30,000 people in 27 countries found that nearly 70% of respondents say that the countries have become more diverse over the past 20 years. And our own Census Bureau also estimate that back in 2020, for every 30 seconds, there one person added to the U.S. population. And I have also two other interesting data. 48% of Generation Z are racial or ethnic minorities. And also, millennials are 19% more diverse than baby boomers. So, whether you want to accept it, this is just a fact. So, whether you recognize it or not, this is just a fact. This is happening. In diverse workforce. So, over the years, a lot of research has been done. And all the research has shown that the diversity will increase employee engagement and knowledge sharing through new perspectives, and it will promote greater innovation, attract and keep top talent, and increase profits. So on the right-hand side, you can see that it's estimated that between the years 2020 and 2024, there $1.2 billion will be spent to related to the cross-cultural training services. And the other data all show that when a company if a company is more culturally diverse, it will generate more, that revenue, will promote, generate, just basically financially benefit a company which is more diverse. And I also found something very interesting, online. This is called a CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion. This is the first launched on June 12 of 2017 by Tim Ryan, the U.S. chairman of PricewaterhouseCoopers. And on the right-hand side, you see 4 bullet points. These are a business commitment to advance diversity in the workforce. So this is the largest CEO-driven business commitment. And so far, there are more than 22,400 CEOs have signed up. And this action actually has impact on 21 million plus employees in the United States. The original 6 signatories of the letter are the CEOs of Microsoft, including Microsoft, Walmart. And in Missouri, Emron, BJC, Centene, Edward Jones, Commerce Bank, Boeing, WashU have all signed up. So let's take a look at the four, the bullet points of the pledge. We will continue to make our workplaces trusting places to have complex and sometimes difficult conversations about diversity and inclusion. We will implement and expand unconscious bias education. We will share best and unsuccessful practices. We will create and share strategic inclusion diversity plans with our board of directors. I believe this is not very common now in all the big corporations, in law firms, that we all have the diversity and inclusion committee. Elements of 3C. So, what are essentials that important elements that help you to understand and cultivate the concept of 3C? It starts with understanding your own culture and then acknowledge your cultural differences and engage in self-assessment, acquire cultural knowledge and skills, and view behaviors, especially your clients' behaviors within a cultural context if you know that your clients are from a different cultural background. All right, so we can take maybe 2-3 minutes. I want everybody to do this self-assessment. There's only 10 questions, and try to be honest with you, with yourself. This is really a very helpful self-assessment test that you can find tons of different kind of self-assessment tests, online. But let's do this little quick together. The first question I view. So how you gonna grade this is you read a question, and then if you does not believe that you never really practice that kind of mindset or skill, then you will appoint yourself like 1 point. But if you feel like you've always practiced that kind of mindset or skills, then you will award yourself like 4 points. So the first question is, I view human difference as positive and a cause for celebration. So Gary, at the end, I'm going to collect your scores.
Yeah, well, I know all us lawyers are so competitive, right? We all want to get the best score, which is kind of funny. So everybody do this, and then do you want me to go through each one, or what do you want me to do, Jasmine?
We will. I will probably try to pick on couple.
Okay, go ahead. But you want me to do number 1?
Yeah. No. So everybody need to do the 10 questions.
All right, we're gonna do them. Everybody do your quiz and figure out what your point total is.
Yeah, I will just read through the 10 questions.
Thank you.
And give you a little bit, 3-5 seconds to answer each one, and at the end to add all your points together. So the first one, I view human difference as positive and a cause for celebration. If you feel like that's what you strongly believe you've been exercising, then you can award yourself 4 points or 3. Or you believe, you agree with that statement, you can also do that. The second question, I have a clear sense of my own ethnic, cultural, and racial identity. The third question.
And when I look at this is great, and everybody can keep reading, and I don't, but how do you? And so I was going in the numbers, and I always, you want to put 4, but then I think to myself, sometimes I just get busy in life, and I just get busy, and I don't always think of my own heritage. Or when I work with you, you and I've done legal, you've helped me in some legal stuff, and when we're sitting, you just kind of lose. How do you be mindful of that and sensitive to that while doing all the other things that we're doing in life?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So, well, I have a very different cultural background than Gary's cultural background. So, it will be a little bit easier because this is in my personal life. My daily life experience has constantly reminded me, the difference that the positive sides of both culture, Taiwanese culture and American culture. But, of course, I hope this is not going to be the one-time thing. I really hope this, just to bring everybody's awareness. Yes, you are right. When you get busy, you really don't have time to think about this. But at least that, you can start to cultivate that mindset. And then I really, truly the goal of this presentation is to help you to recognize, when you have the opportunities to serve clients from different cultures. And then hopefully at that time, you will be able to slow down, even just for 2 seconds, to think, oh, you know what, this remind me, the presentation, or, the 3C concept that I've just, being introduced to not long ago. So I'm not sure that answers your questions.
Well, it does. We try to. I think just something I was noting as I was trying to think, I try to do these things. I'm mindful of them, but it's hard to be mindful of all the things. I get busy in my stuff. So I see Brett Rich got a 32. So if people want to put your scores in the chat, anybody who wants to share them, unless they're really low, and then.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Let me know if anybody gets 40 points.
That would be perfect, right?
I am not sure if you have 40, you're being very truly honest to yourself.
Well, that's what no one wants to say that, because no one wants to be. We're gonna unmute anybody who gets 40. We're gonna unmute you, and Jasmine's gonna cross-examine you.
And also, if you get 10 points, then that just said that you have a lot that you can work on.
I'm doing mine. Honestly, I think I'm right around, I think, a 30. Because I was trying to think in my daily life. I mean, I try to do this, but I'm aware, like number 6, I think I know some of my assumptions that I hold of people different from my own, but then I'm reminded of some of those that are a little unconscious that I don't notice. And, and then you'll have an opportunity where you're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's exactly why, when I was searching for a really good self-assessment, kind of survey. And then I did pick and choose, because even for this particular institution, they have a different kind of survey. So I did, look through different survey, and I put together. I found these 10 questions can probably mostly, help people to recognize.
This is really good. This you need to pause. And I'm sorry if I'm derailing your deal. Jeff asked a question about question 5. He says he doesn't have discomfort when I encounter. So is that when I encounter number 5? I think, Jeff, number 5 is, are you aware of your own discomfort when you encounter differences? And I think it's the awareness. And if you don't, I mean, so there you go. All right, Jasmine, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So again, this is really just, a little exercise that hopefully that can help you to start thinking more about this topic. Now let's move on to another interesting information that I found online. So this organization is called, well, hopefully I don't know how to pronounce this. Hopefully I pronounce this right. Hofstede Insight. It was founded in 1985, headquartered in Finland. It's a global leader in research-based organization cultural management. So this organization works with Fortune 100 companies such as Bayer and Microsoft. So their goal is to help its client, help Bayer and Microsoft to align culture and strategy. and help them to solve intercultural and organizational cultural challenges. So its framework, you can see there's 6 dimensions. It's actually based and inspired by the work done by Professor Hofstede. And Professor Hofstede came up with this model of national cultures that consists of 6 dimensions. And as you can see, I specifically bring up the comparison between Taiwan and the United States, again, based on my personal experiences, since I'm original from Taiwan. So the power distance. This means the degree in which a society accepts a hierarchical order. So in different society, in United States, I would say there is not so obvious when it comes to hierarchy in especially private practicing law firms or corporations. But in Taiwan, though, it's a pretty hierarchical society. So for example, like if I'm working in Taiwan, in a law firm now, I will not call my supervisor, or my boss by their first name. What I would do, and then it's kind of like a norm in the Taiwan society, that I actually need to call them like a supervisor Smith, or CEO Burger, things like that. I would never just call Gary by his name, things like that. So it's a very different cultural here and in Taiwan. And then as a matter of fact, a lot of my especially that Chinese speaking clients, they insist almost all the time, calling me Attorney Chen. It doesn't matter how many times I tell them it's okay, just call me Jasmine. They always insist calling me like Attorney Chen. All right. And then the second dimension is the individualism. So in the individualistic societies, people tend to take care of themselves. But in Taiwan, as you can see, it's more the opposite way. It's more a collectivism society. So in Taiwan, people feel more obligated to take care of members of their in-groups. And loyalty in collectivism, collectivist culture, it's very important and almost sometimes overrides societal rules and regulations. So in Taiwan, I can share a couple of interesting facts with you guys. In Taiwan, many young people will continue to live with their parents until they get married. It is very different than the culture here. And also in Taiwan's business world, hiring and promotion take account of the employees in group. But compared to in the United States, those hiring promotion decision mostly are based on the merit or evidence of the one who has done or can do. So that's very different as well. The third dimension, masculinity and femininity. So in America, United States, it's more a masculinity society. And so that society like America actually have a preference for competition, achievement, and assertiveness. And I do believe, in other hand, that in Taiwan is much more a feminine society that has a preference for cooperation. As a result, American society tends to talk freely about their success and achievement in life. Versus in Taiwan, conflicts are often resolved by compromise and negotiation. Well, I guess I do believe that, plays a role into the fact that we do have more court cases in, United States. And the fourth dimension is uncertainty avoidance. So this talks about how the way a society deal with the fact that the future can never be known. So for countries like Taiwan, exhibit that will always try its best to avoid uncertainty, oftentimes maintain more rigid code and belief. But in the United States, though, we actually will tend to be more tolerant of ideas or opinions from anyone and allow more, freedom of expression. The fifth one, long-term orientation. So, like cultures with high score in this dimension encourage preparation for future. So, as growing up, in Taiwan, I was always told by my parents, to save every penny that you ever made, just for the preparation, for your future. But here in United States, most business, I shouldn't say most business, but a lot of business measure their employees' performance on a short-term basis. And because of that, it will drive individuals to strive for quick results within the workplace. Last one is indulgence. So it's basically the extent to which people try to control their desires and impulses. Taiwan has a very intermediate score, and in United States, I believe that our society, United States society believe that work hard and play hard. Okay. Now, we've learned about, we talk about what is culture and what is cross-cultural competency. And now we finally can talk about how we can utilize and practice the skills that we just learned. So in 1999, the two professors actually came up with this cross-cultural lawyering model. And then there are five, they adopt the 5 habits. The habit 1 is the degrees of separation and connection. So this is really how you can, again, practice the skills to first identify the similarities and differences between you and your client, and then recognize or at least think about how these similarities and differences might influence your relationship with your clients, and also the process of fact gathering. And also think about, are there any differences, similarities that you are overlooking? And how can you develop a proper professional distance, for example, with a client who is very similar to you? And also, how do you bridge the huge gap between, if you and your client, just come from, very, very different cultural background? How can you bridge the gap? Okay, so it's really good to do this exercise because it can help you and better conclude that if you are developing solutions to problems that actually work for your clients, not for you. Okay, and the habit 2, the 3 rings, I will bring up more real examples later on, but this habit basically expands the idea of habit 1. And try to identify the similarities and difference between not just you and your client, but also the law and the client, and also you yourself and the law. Okay. And habit 3, the parallel universe thinking. So this habit really invites, attorneys, us, to identify alternative explanations for, clients' behaviors. So avoid jumping, to conclusions on insufficient information. Rely on facts, not just, your assumptions. Try to think about, explore more multiple alternative interpretations of any client's behavior. And then habit 4, the red flags. So this encourages us to reflect on the communication that we have before, during, and in between client encounters. So then that can troubleshoot the problematic interactions. Yeah. And habit 5, camel's back. Well, we all make mistakes. Mistakes will happen. When that happens, it's okay, but try to look retrospectively at the problematic moment and try to identify the factors that lead to that particular cross-cultural mishap. And then so that will help you, moving forward, eliminating those factors, in the future. And I did mention that I want to bring up a couple, real examples that I have. So this one is a planning client, and I do actually exercise this practice, every time. I try my best. Again, Gary mentioned we can always get busy. Sometimes we forget about this, but I try my best every time when I take a new client. I try to think about and recognize the similarities and differences that I share with my client. For this particular estate planning client, she's widow. She just lost her husband not long ago, and we have children, but she has very, very strong religious beliefs. So, and the similarities that, I share with these clients, we're all female, we're immigrant, we try our best to keep the family harmony. But I recognize the bigger difference that I share with her is her strong religious belief. And it's very important for me to acknowledge that difference, because when I was helping her putting together her estate plan, we did come across some hiccups that's really originated from her strong religious belief. And that at a certain point almost handcuffed, her as to how she want to pass her assets to her children when she's gone. She cried almost every time meeting with me, because she wants to divide her asset in a certain way, but she told me several times that she believed her religious prohibit her doing that. So at that time, my recommendation, for her is to talk to, whoever is the superior, person that she can rely on, she trusts the most in her own community, before, we finalize, the estate plan for her. So client will appreciate that, because they will appreciate that you're trying to understand where they come from and why they are having, difficulties working with you, answer your questions, or things like that.
Hey, Jasmine, thank you so much. And did I interrupt this part of? I just wanted to, in terms of our scheduled time, you got about 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
One of the things that let me ask, can I ask 2 questions? And then if anybody, and if you want to get back, but if anybody else has questions too. One of the things I've been trying to work on in my life, I find myself even in my 50s trying to work on myself. But is it helpful to take a minute we're in the hustle and bustle, just take a minute and just try to connect with that person, to try to appreciate where they're coming from, rather than just assuming you do. Just sit there and just take a minute and acknowledge that and try to be sensitive to that. Is that helpful?
Yes, that's exactly, that can be very, helpful in taking on any, client. So, again, how to enhance your cross-cultural competency skills in lawyering. If I'm being truly honest, I will say listen, and listen. You have to be open-minded and willing to learn from your clients. Otherwise,
That's sometimes my blind spot. I can be bull in a china shop and trying to get things done and run stuff. So sometimes I actually just have to make myself stop and listen. And, that's really effective in trial and other things, looking, reading the room, seeing that, you can miss stuff. It's something that I personally have to work on.
And
I
also,
always work.
after years of practice, it's very natural that we would think that we've seen enough. So as soon as we see, one particular client's behavior, we will jump to conclusions. But again, if you are trying to be mindful, you might want to explore more explanation of why and how your clients, are acting a certain way. So, you can find a lot of meaningful quote online, but, I found a couple of them. The one that I like the most is the bottom one. We do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. So, these have helped me tremendously during my work with my clients, because sometimes it bothers me, like, you feel like why your client's not listening to you. Sometimes it's not because they're not listening to you or they're not capable of carrying out, their responsibilities in terms of their relationship with you. It's because there are some huge gap between the understanding, arrive from different cultural backgrounds. So if you can recognize that they can help you, to develop a better and smooth relationship between you and your client. And then that can also, I believe, that helps your cases a lot.
One of the blinds in meeting you and getting to know you, one of the blind spots that I've seen in myself a little bit is that, and just when you talk about all the different clients you serve from so many different countries, and sometimes in our American society, we lump Asian Americans in one, and we think that's one big homogeneous group, or African Americans, or different people, the way they look. Is that an implicit bias that you've seen in others? Is that?
Yeah. Over the years, I will say though, yes, I do see that, but I will say it's getting better and better. So I'm very hopeful.
It's the Beatles song. It's getting better all the time, right? Well, is there any other? And again, I don't mean to. And if anybody else has a question in the comments for Jasmine, you're welcome to. And Jasmine, you certainly can. Is there any other implicit bias or any other lessons to lead with us in this implicit bias framework that you would share?
I'm sorry,
Is there any other lessons on implicit bias, implicit bias that in ways for us to work on this, that you would commend to us?
Well, I guess I'll say, if you don't know it, you don't know it. So well, we are lucky as attorneys because, we get to have interactions with clients. We get to meet much more, many more people, compared to, just, lay, person. So I, again, listen to your clients, your colleagues. That can help you to really, know more and learn more from, because again, back to the very beginning, culture does not just mean, the national cultural difference, right? So the cultural, here in St. Louis County can be also very different than the cultural, of people that from St. Charles County. So and then also maybe, different age group, different racial group. So cultural really, it's a very broad term. So in order to recognize the implicit bias, you need to be open-minded and willing to listen to people. I oftentimes feel like we as attorneys, we just talk. We talk too much. I feel like you need to slow down and then listen, be willing to listen to your clients.
One of the things lesson I learned from you is when I try to do that to myself, to try to listen and try to be open to that, to be mindful of that. But when I heard that we were talking, and you yourself, and I see you, as a Taiwanese American, and you've done so much to be a successful lawyer here. But you see, with talking with you, I was struck. But you see, a guy like me, I mean, I'm as white male as you can get, blonde hair and blue eyes, But your lesson to me was, you spend your time thinking about that. You want to be mindful of your clients from different parts of the world, not just from different Asian parts of the world, because you serve different people. So that was a lesson for me. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So it's a very short presentation. If anyone has any more questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I would love to share, with you again, like personal experiences.
Yeah, and I put Jasmine's information in the chat. Her connection. She's at Sandberg, Phoenix. There's a question. Don has a question, and how do you communicate with Trumpers versus liberal citizens? Are there sites? How do you figure out who is who? Don, we have a polarized political climate, as you know. Thank you, Jen. Jasmine, thank you for putting your contact information up on the screen. But I don't. What's your answer to that? My answer would be, I don't think that's an implicit bias. That's a very explicit political polarized thing. In all these other countries where people come from, there's polarizing political comments too. So, but I'll let you answer that as well.
Well, first of all, I try not to talk about politics. I don't know how, I never really asked anybody this question, but, growing up in Taiwan, I was always advised by my parents, do not talk to people about politics, do not talk to people about religions, so you don't get into unnecessary confrontation. So I, again, for the pro-Trump or liberal thing, I'm not sure I can give you the right answers, or it's just from my personal observation. I always try to get the ideas from both sides. I want to learn, what information, they have that prompt them to think certain things a certain way. I don't know what else to say, but that I, again, always under any circumstance, I will not try my best not to jump to conclusion, and I want to learn about what's their thought processing, how do they come to that conclusion?
And I think the other, you have a lot of thanks and a lot of great comments in the chat, Jasmine. I liked your answer. So thank you. Jasmine, thank you so much for your time today and your presentation. Really appreciate the insight. I learned a lot. I think everybody else did, judging from the comments and the experience here. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.